low crawling and all that, man, that was horrible to my knee. Even the physical process when I had to get into the Army, they're having you do things and I'm just acting like it don't hurt, but it really did hurt. But I acted like it didn't because I knew they probably wouldn't let me in if I, they knew my history. They knew I had the leg broken, but I'm like, nah, it doesn't bother me at all. But it really did, and it hurt a lot. But I made it through. Now, I get into what's called AIT. I graduated basic, I go to AIT. Now I have a guaranteed first assignment, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That's where the boxing team is. Well, during this time frame, the boxing team was going to be moving to Fort Carson, Colorado. Now what am I gonna do? Okay, so now it's out of my hands. Well, I'm trying to contact people. I'm trying to figure something out. I end up calling the coach in Arizona, and I'm talking to him about the All-Army training camp. And he's working with me. He feels how hungry I am, and he's thinking, okay, well, I'll at least get you out here, and you can box on the post team, right, with me. And so that's one thing I got in the burner. And I'm just calling. Then I found out one of the drill sergeants at AIT, she said, hey, well, the coach is staying at my house right now. He's at my house right now. I'm best friends with his wife, and they're over at my house. And I'm like, what, really? And she said, yeah, he's going to be the new coach for the World Class Athlete Program. And I'm like, wow. And see, when you put your heart out there and you take steps forward, it's like God lines things up for you, and now things start falling in place like magically, right? And so I write a letter to this coach, and I tell him everything I won, and I tell him about my conversation with Jeffrey Clark and how I'm making a comeback, and now I'm in the Army and I want to box. And so I sent the letter. I never heard back from the guy. He didn't respond, nothing. But all of a sudden, I'm calling home to my mom just to catch up with my mom, and she said, hey, some guy called you. And I said, some guy? She said, yeah, somebody from the Department of the Army called, and they're trying to contact you in AIT, and they want you to call this number. And I said, okay. So I called the number. It was a guy that worked for the Department of Army, and he knew the guy who was used to be president of USA Boxing, Billy Dove, who knew another friend of mine. And this all came together magically because I'm taking the steps forward. So now everything's stepping towards me. In the Alchemist book, there's some type of quote. It says when you take a step, or when you commit to your dream, something like that. It says it way more beautiful than I'm saying now, but that it will, the universe will step towards you or help you with your dream. Something like that. That's the meaning of it. It doesn't sound anything like what I'm saying. I'll find the quote and put it in the video for you. So it all was working for me. And now I'm supposed to be going to Fort Bragg. But now all of a sudden, 2 days before I'm graduating AIT and going to be getting sent to my next training, which was truck driving school, and then I was supposed to go to jump school, and then I was supposed to go to Fort Bragg because that's my assignment. That's what I asked for. Now all of a sudden, this guy in the Department of Army, they switched my orders up, and now my orders, the drill sergeants are reading out the orders. And they come to mine and they say, Vanderwally, TDY, Fort Huachuca, All Army Boxing Training Camp, first assignment, Fort Carson, Colorado, World Class Athlete Program. Wow. And they look at me, they're like, man, who do you know? Right? And it wasn't that I knew anyone. It was that I knew in my heart what I wanted, and I put it out there, right? And so it came and worked for me. God was lining stuff up, the universe, whatever your beliefs are, but it was lining up for me. It was working with me and this energy. And so now I go to the training camp, but I get there the week of the tournament. So they're already fighting. And I really wasn't in fighting condition. I was in good shape. And I was training at night. I would do the Army training in the day, but at night I was going to the gym. I was doing extra road work. I met a buddy named Alex Ramos. He became my teammate. We met each other in AIT. We're holding mitts. So we're doing all the things we can do. So we get to the camp. We missed the tournament. We didn't get to compete in the tournament. But we were there when they started fighting in the tournament. And, you know, things worked out. But all along the journey, there were tests. When we did get to Fort Carson, Coach Bashir Abdullah, he had to go out to Alexandria, Virginia, and meet with these big-time generals and colonels and about the program. And he's reading through the biographies of everybody. They read my biography, and I had a lot of championships that I had won through the years, but I hadn't fought in 4 years. And so he's reading mine, and they're with their general. He's like, wait a minute, Vanderwally, he hasn't fought in 4 years. How could he possibly be a world-class athlete? There's no way. He's out. And the coach, you know, he really liked me as one of his fighters and hopefuls to make that next team, the Olympic team. But now it's out of his hands. He can't argue with this general, you know. He was, I think at the time, like a staff sergeant. I mean, you just can't do that. It's in the military. And so this general was just trying to make a point that he's in charge of everything. So he's like, no, he's out. And just that quick, I'm out. So now, once again, another test. Coach comes back from Virginia. He has a conversation with me. He said, hey, look, we're going to do what we can. He said, but officially, you're out of the program. We're going to try and figure it out. You're probably going to end up in a regular unit on post here. And, you know, maybe you'll be able to train at night or whatever. And so I prayed, actually. I just prayed and surrendered it. I said, God, you know the desires of my heart. Like, I want to make this team. I want to train full time. But I'm willing to do whatever I need to do. If I'm supposed to go downrange and be in this regular unit and train at night, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to do my part, whatever it is. And so as you go for your dream, you're going to be tested. And you got to be willing to do your part. But I think that by surrendering, for me, surrender was key. And so by releasing that to this higher power that I call God, you call it whatever you want. You have your own faith. I'm not trying to preach a specific religion to you, but for my belief is God. And I surrendered it. I released it. Whatever you have, God, I'm willing to go through that fire to pursue my dream. And so it worked out magically. The commander of our company, the World Class Athlete Program, he pulled some strings, and he got me assigned to another unit. So I'm supposed to actually work at this other unit, but with duty, World Class Athlete Program. So there was a little clause in there. Yes, he's officially not a World Class Athlete. He's officially assigned to this other unit, but with duty, World Class Athlete Program. So I never left. I continued to train. That same general had put the stipulation out that if I were to enter the program, I had to win All Army, the All Army Championships, and prove that I'm the best in the entire Army. And by proving that, then I would be worthy to come into the World Class Athlete Program. So later that year, I won the All Army Championships, and I got a chance to meet that general, and we shook hands, and everybody's telling them their name, and I proudly said Vanderwally. Vanderwally's a hard name to forget. I'm sure he remembered Vanderwally's the kid he put out and said wasn't a world-class athlete anymore, but I proved to him and everyone and to myself that I was. And even during the All-Army training camp, there were obstacles. About 2 weeks before we competed, we trained together for about a month, and about 2 weeks before the tournament actually started, we were moving wall lockers in the barracks, and a big, huge wall locker fell on my ankle. Like, a bunch of us guys were carrying it, and somehow it slipped, and it actually landed on my ankle. My ankle swelled up, and I was no longer able to run. So what did I do? What I could do. I couldn't run. I wasn't doing the conditioning that everybody else was getting. So I would go to the swimming pool and I would do laps. I would get on the exercise bike because then there's no pounding, and I would do sprints on the exercise bike. So I had to maintain my cardio conditioning. Whenever you find yourself in a situation, you have to ask yourself, what can I do? Maybe it's not ideal. Ideally, I would have had a healthy ankle and been able to train like the rest of the guys. But I didn't. And it didn't stop me though. I didn't allow that to stop my dream of competing at that level. And as you probably have heard my story before, if you're listening to this now, you probably definitely have heard my story. But so I won the tournament. A month later, I won the Armed Forces Championship. Later that year, I represented the United States of America at the World CISM Championships. And if we look from there to 4 years before that, I almost died. I was left unable to walk. And nobody believed I would ever fight again, especially at a world-class level like that. And here now I am, 4 years later, walking out into this giant stadium, and they're playing the national anthem, and Team USA is walking out. And it was that long journey, and a lot of people helped me along the way because I built that team around me. But as I accomplished things, as I proved myself worthy, as I surrendered inside of my heart, like, okay, I'm going to do what I can do, right? One of my favorite poems is, Lord grant me the serenity to